Vice President Mike Pence arrived at the capital of Colombia to meet with members of the opposition. Now, this included Colombian President Ivan Duque, an opposition leader, and self-proclaimed President Juan Guaido. Now, Pence addressed the ongoing crisis and an aim at ousting Nicolás Maduro.
It's an honor to be here in Colombia with you, President Duque, and a particular honor to share this with President Guaido. The people of this hemisphere, the people of the wider world, should know the United States of America stands for freedom in this hemisphere. We stand with President Juan Guaido as the legitimate president of Venezuela, and we will keep standing until your libertad is restored.
Although the vice president did not back immediate military force, he reiterated Trump's words and said, as we continue to bring economic and diplomatic pressure to bear on the Maduro regime, we hope for a peaceful transition to democracy. But as President Trump has made clear, all options are on the table. Pence addressed the 14-nation Lima group following violent protests over the weekend that left 5 people dead and nearly 300 people injured. U.S.-backed opposition accused Venezuelan military of setting trucks carrying humanitarian aid on fire. RT's Dan Cohen was on the ground with a report.
I'm at the Tienditas bridge crossing on the Colombian side of the border with Venezuela. Behind me, you can see 10 trucks carrying 600 tons of what the U.S. government says is humanitarian aid to be delivered to Venezuela. Now, the Venezuelan government is refusing it, saying this is actually not humanitarian aid. The Red Cross and other major international humanitarian organizations are refusing to participate in this, saying also it is not humanitarian aid. Now, the U.S. says inside these 10 trucks are items like toothbrushes, wheelchairs, crutches. These are all items that are actually available in Venezuela, but are difficult for many to buy because of hyperinflation. Now, there are about 300 or 400 protesters at the entrance to this area, about a kilometer away, who are pretty rowdy and seem ready to march across the bridge and accompany this humanitarian aid. Since National Assembly leader Juan Guaido declared himself president of Venezuela on January 23rd, he had been in the capital city of Caracas, freely denouncing what he called the Maduro dictatorship. Guaido had set February 23rd as the date the U.S. government-supplied aid would enter Venezuela. In the days leading up, Guaido called for a human wave to accompany the aid. On the morning of the 23rd, Guaido himself appeared on the Colombian side of the Tienditas bridge crossing, urging his supporters to ensure the aid got across.
Very soon, this unity bridge will work to bring all of the Venezuelan people together. The humanitarian aid is definitely on its way to Venezuela in a non-threatening and peaceful way to save lives at this moment in Venezuela.
But after his public statement, alongside the presidents of Colombia, Chile, and Paraguay, Guaido was nowhere to be found. Former Venezuelan opposition lawmaker Julio Borges, now Guaido's representative to the Lima group, made a brief appearance too. I asked him about the involvement of U.S. Special Envoy to Venezuela Elliot Abrams, who in the 1980s used humanitarian aid shipments to deliver weapons to Contras in Nicaragua.
I am not a historian. We're talking about news. I'm talking about my country. I don't care about anything else but Venezuelans, and I want Venezuelans to feel support from Russia. I don't want Russia to support a dictator like Maduro. That's what we want right now, and we're calling for reason. Please support the people. Do not support the dictator.
Hundreds of protesters outside the bridge crossing demanded the elected president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, be overthrown and the humanitarian aid pass through its borders.
Down with Maduro. Down with Maduro. Nobody likes you. Maduro, get out. We're all marching to let the humanitarian aid, and Maduro is not letting it into the country.
This is the closest point we can get to on the Tienditas bridge crossing. Directly behind me are the shipping containers and tanker that are separating Venezuela and Colombia. Now, Colombian police here are under orders to not let anyone through until they receive the order from Colombian President Ivan Duque to allow these 10 trucks of so-called humanitarian aid to pass through, at which point they say protesters, hundreds of protesters, may accompany them. It has all the ingredients for a potential clash. Venezuelan authorities and protesters are on the other side. If you listen carefully, you can hear the music coming from the other side. While Tienditas remained calm, the demonstrators rode the aid trucks to other bridge crossings where they clashed with the Venezuelan National Guard, typical of guarimbas, the deadly riots that plagued Venezuela in 2017 and 2014 and led to hundreds of deaths. One aid truck was set on fire. Numerous politicians and Western media outlets immediately blamed the Venezuelan National Guard, though they presented no evidence. Libertad! Libertad! Back at the Tienditas Bridge, right-wing European parliamentarian Esteban Pons demanded Maduro let the trucks enter.
No hay ayuda humanitaria de una clase de otra.
There is no need for one class of humanitarian aid or another. Food is food, medicine is medicine, regardless of where they come from and wherever they're needed. They are always welcome. What doesn't make sense is that Colombian aid, or from Chile, or from any other Latin American country will accept Russian aid that comes in little airplanes and in small quantities when what is needed is a massive humanitarian aid.
But Sergio Munoz, a Presbyterian minister who works with the Colombian government to give spiritual guidance to defecting Venezuelan soldiers, said the aid isn't about human rights or promoting democracy. Instead, he says, it's meant to start a revolt against the Venezuelan government.
This is really a pedagogical humanitarian aid, and what we really want is for the population to rise up. And when the tiny bit of humanitarian aid enters in this pedagogical way, the political death of the usurper president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, happens.
Munoz says more important than the fall of a single figure like Maduro is transitioning Venezuela away from socialism and into the favored economic system of the West.
The issue is not if Maduro fails. The real problem comes when next 2 or 3 presidents take power in Venezuela. Because to change the political system of socialism and to implement a capital system in Venezuela, it requires a return to imposing taxes and once again demand to pay for public services. And unfortunately, the last generation of Venezuelans are accustomed to the socialist system of assistance. This means there would be a clash, almost a civil resistance to the new government trying to implement a capitalist system in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
For now, the shipments of so-called humanitarian aid are still sitting on the 10 trucks behind me at this warehouse. And Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has declared that the coup has been defeated. But with U.S. Vice President Mike Pence coming to Bogota on Monday, he might have something to say about that. Reporting from the Tienditas Bridge crossing in Colombia, Dan Cohen, RT.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.